Welcome back. Or if you're just joining for the first time, in which case, welcome and Merry Christmas. We're just starting out on the carving process of this reduction lino print by removing all of the white space around the image. I find this is a good place to start just to get my head in the game, I guess, and get a feel for my tools again, enjoy that sensation of the tools just gliding through the soft cut that I'm using. And there are some delicate white highlights in the image itself, namely these beautiful little mistletoe berries. They're so cute. So I'm just going in with a smaller V-shaped tool, and I've also got a U-gouge there as well, just to try and dig these in as deep as possible. They're quite teensy and delicate, and I don't want any blotches of ink to spill out over the sides, so just speeding this up a little bit now, because I don't think we need to watch me do this in real time. See, I'm just spinning the material around and around and keeping my tool as still as possible when I'm doing anything circular. It's just easier on the wrists if I can do that. Okay, keeping the block nice and clean of debris, going in and just finishing little highlights on the pine cone as well. And this next bit is very important. I'm just taking a break. Ooh, bouncy on my my mount for my iPhone there. So I've got this tool called a slip strop. You can get these from various craft shops where you can get supplies for linocut printing. You've got this sort of chalky medium that you just want to apply to the rough surface there, and just drag your tools across on the cutting edge gently, just to keep them well honed. It's a very pleasing process, I have to say. It takes time, sure, but it's very meditative, and whatever medium you work in, whether it's painting or sculpture or drawing or music or what have you, taking care of your tools it's so important. It's part and parcel of taking professional pride in your work, and it's part of being a craftsperson. I have to admit, I am the kind of person who really, it's like, I love cooking, but I really resent doing the washing up afterwards. Even loading the dishwasher, frankly, is a bit of a chore. So we're just going to speed this up a little bit now, because I'm impatient. Even stuff like this, it's pleasant, but yeah, sometimes it feels like a chore, and it's the last thing you want to do when you just want to get on with printing, which is the fun part. But yeah, every time I carve, I sharpen afterwards. Obviously, I'm only sharpening the tools that I've used. Okay, this is where the fun really happens, printing layer 1. And I've always got some baby wipes just off camera there to keep my fingers ink free. I've rolled out these water-based inks, which are basically the starter pack of inks that I first started out with when I started doing linocut printing maybe a year ago, I guess. And this is a nice soft rubber roller rather than the gnarly hard ones that you tend to get in starter packs. I did try using those, they were dreadful, so I invested in a rubber roller pretty much straight away. And you can see how the ink goes on in a lovely smooth sort of glide. You can't really hear it in these videos, but there is a very pleasing hiss when rolling out the ink. Nice and fine. But whatever happens, I always sort of convince myself that the first 2 prints that I do will always be duffers. I still take care, as you can see here, again, just taking a little bit of a baby wipe, and cleaning my hands as well to make sure there's no ink stuck on any of the any of the raised areas outside of the borders, but the first 2 prints are generally terrible. I've got to be honest. It's just, it's loading up the ink on the roller, getting my eye in, I suppose, getting into the rhythm of things. So I will always do a tester essentially first, and I've actually pre-scored this card, and the cards I'm making are just A4 cards, like 210 gram, folded in half. I'm not going to score all of them straight off the bat, but this one I just wanted to make sure that the placement of the artwork works well when you've actually scored it, and will it face the right way, and all the rest of it. Instead of a proper brayer, I just use these. You remember those gnarly little rollers that I mentioned earlier? I have kept them because they're useful for this, essentially, just making sure all of the ink transfers as evenly as possible. Let's peel it back a little bit just to check and see what's going on. Like I say, I expect the first one to be terrible, so yeah, that's a foregone conclusion, but it doesn't have to be so terrible. I want it to be the best terrible that it can be. And I'm really going, like, more over this one than I normally would, because I can see there's a problem at this point, which is about to become apparent. You can see just about here how just one side is not transferring very well. Okay, take 2. Like I say, the first one's always a duffer, right? So I've got an even bigger roller this time. To cover more area, I'm applying loads of pressure, peeling it back, doing it again, bearing down all I can, and yeah, it's still not working, so I'm just gonna have to go for it again. And at this point, I have to say my heart is just starting to sink, because the problem that I'm seeing with one half of the block not quite printing very well doesn't feel like the issue is with me or my materials or my tools, just like getting into the rhythm. It feels a bit more like there's either an issue with the block itself, or yeah, I don't know. I don't see what it can be. Frankly, I'm a bit stumped. Trouble is, at this point I have... Oh yeah, that's not good. At this point I have a choice. I can either start from scratch, or I can just persevere and keep going and try and think some way out of this. Trouble is, because we're in the run-up to Christmas now, this is early November that I've started this project, I can't really afford to lose any time, and because I'm only able to do this really on evenings and weekends, I can't afford to lose a couple of days. So I'm just going to persevere with this. I've got about 25 of these that I need to do, so I'm going to keep going and hope that if I just maybe have a mess about with the load on my roller, like this one's a bit better, because I had much more material on the roller, and I think I applied a little bit more to the block itself. So I'm hoping that I can nattily flood those little gaps without flooding the actual artwork that I've carved, which is a risk. It's a very big risk. But part of the point of doing this nice, cozy little Christmas crafty project was, it's supposed to be low stakes. It's not client work. It's for people whom I love, and I hope that, they will know how much I love them when they watch these videos and see, especially with the footage sped up. And this is only the footage that made the final cut. Just, oh, how much work is involved. Let's just take a moment to appreciate that, shall we? Phew. Okay, that's done. And some time has passed. I didn't think that you needed to see me washing the extra ink off my block afterwards. You can see the artwork now, but it's obviously stained quite a bit with the first layer. That's fine. It's not going to transfer to the next layer. And actually, I think it makes for quite a nice image. In fact, it's making me think I might just do this next year. Just have some green with some white highlights cut into it. Looks nice. So I'm going in with, again, a large sort of V-shaped gouge, freshly sharpened as well after my previous session, and taking out the highlights. So anything that's going to be that pale green in the final image needs to be taken away at this point, if you see what I mean. It's very pleasing work, this part. Very delicate, very meditative. But I don't think we need to see it in real time. That's enough of that. Get on with it. Again, you can see I move my block around quite a lot because I don't want my fingers to have to move around too much. I realise that, health and safety reasons, you should try not to cut towards your fingers, and I'm sure there will be many people watching this and cringing because, I carve towards my fingers all the time. But, my tools are very sharp, and my soft cut material that I'm using is nice and pliable. I very rarely slip, and when I do, look how tiny my tools are. It's just a little nick at most on my finger that I ever get. And what is life without a little bit of danger? Hey, a little bit of risk. If you want to live a full and interesting, fulfilling life, then you've got to be prepared to have some grazed knees and nicked fingers from time to time, I feel. I'm sorry my hair keeps wanting to make an appearance in these videos. I do try not to lean into the camera as I'm working, but it's just very challenging when you've got essentially what I have as my setup is I've got my iPhone on an arm looking straight down, as in these views that you see here, and then we switch to my DSLR, which basically allows us to get all these nice fat soft focus close-ups, which you see here. So yeah, B-roll. Yeah, the arm that my phone is sat on bounces around sometimes a little bit because it's a bit squishy, and I keep knocking the table. And yeah, sometimes I need to see what I'm doing, especially when doing stuff like this. You're gouging out very fine work, and yeah, I sounded a little bit gung-ho just now when I was talking about safety and watching your fingers. Obviously I don't want to cut my fingers, but in order to get the precision that I need to not do that, I do have to get in nice and close. And while I am trying to retain that precision, the fact is I am going over the lines here and there. I think when you're working at this sort of scale, it's really inevitable that, occasionally, just here and there, I'm going to slip a little bit, or maybe the material isn't quite going to react in the way that I anticipate it's going to. Anticipate, that's not a word. Sometimes the material doesn't work in the way I anticipate that it will, and I end up just kind of fudging the lines a bit. And that's okay. The result isn't going to be bad. I'm the only person in the world who knows what I intended it to look like. As far as the customer is concerned, what I give them is what I intended to make. 9 times out of 10, it's fine. And especially with something like this, it's quite a complex image. Occasional little broken lines are just part of the charm and the character, and they will just get lost in the noise that the image as a whole creates. And let's face it, if I canned everything and started again from scratch every time I made a tiny little mistake, I would never get anything done. So yeah, embrace your mistakes, I would say, always. Live with them, work with them. You never know, sometimes you'll make a mistake that actually makes something even better than what you were originally envisioning. So roll with it, embrace it. I've just decided that I want this to be a variegated English ivy, so I'm just marking out the darker areas inside using the tool, because that's something that I didn't actually include in the line work. Oh, and my glamorous assistant has just turned up to let me know that I have been carving for hours and ignoring him, so it's time for us to get some food and some exercise. So thank you for watching, and Tolly and I will see you in the next episode.